Started off at Sears, right? I decided after 3.5 years, I mentioned earlier, it didn't seem to be the business for me. And so I had this opportunity to go into the bank, which was a little unusual, but I decided to take it at any rate. And it was interesting in that I was assigned to financing the import-export activity of the bank. So we're always dealing with foreigners and so forth. A lot of interesting people, and you had a lot of interesting challenges in order to keep things going properly. I like the respect that the retail business had been a little different. People would rather, I think customers would rather spit at you rather than give you the better honors of the day. This was a little different. The banker was always seemed to have full control over his customers and full respect from them. And so every day I couldn't wait until I got into that office when I arrived at work, the import-export. And the bank I worked with had a requirement that you not only be a good lender, a good banker when you're in the bank, but you have to get some good business as well. You have to provide some business, new business, and I proved to be rather effective at that. And so that brought me along pretty well. Just kept talking, just kept talking and kept not taking no for an answer, but not being aggressive about it, tremendously aggressive, but going back and expressing interest. Learn how customers is handling its business and give him in mind some way that he can improve this handling. In those days, you couldn't go from top to bottom in 2 weeks the way you can now at a bank. It was known at the time as the Irving Trust Company. Subsequently, it was acquired by the Bank of New York. I was vice president for the last 20 years and had been an officer of the bank probably for 25, 26 years altogether. It was a good life. It was good money. It was there was a lot of respect, and there was a lot of challenge. And if you were able to stand to the challenge and succeed, you couldn't ask for anything better.
Sal did very well in his career, and I'm very proud of him. And I think a highlight was when through his banking, he went to the Estonia School of Banking in order to get his master's degree at Rutgers. So that was really a wonderful, happy day when we went to his graduation at Rutgers.
My proudest moment was the day I became a vice president, and that had been, as I say, I had been working on that for about 5 or 6 years as an officer of the bank, and so eventually I was brought up one day and given the word, and I was delighted. The first thing I did was call my father. He was delighted. Mother was delighted. Dolores, of course, and the children. And so one day I'll never forget. At that time, my colleagues were a little older than I guess, and they were dropping out of the bank. All of a sudden I found myself with a bunch of 30-year-old people, very nice people, but they had a different mindset than I did. And so I decided to retire. However, I didn't completely retire. I took a job with a small family-owned bank on the basis of the fact that I could help them with their new business and with their lending activity. So they gave me a 2.5-year contract, and that rounded me out. I was about 67 when I completely retired.
Very active. He played golf. He did hiking. He belonged to a club called SCORE, and he doesn't remember much about it, but he was very active in that group.
Basically, since the time we were married, we took some sort of a vacation every year, basically in the United States. But in the last 11 years, as I mentioned, we spent the time in Europe and enjoyed that very much.
We family vacationed every year. When the children were young, we went to housekeeping cottages in New Hampshire, Maine. Yeah, he was only home a year to enjoy retirement when he had the heart attack and the stroke. Oh, I do. I remember that.
She had to take me to the hospital.
I remember that clearly.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I had a heart attack. The following day, I had the stroke. What happened was that I felt some pain up here, but I was playing golf. I felt a little pain, decided I would continue playing golf, and I did for about 5 or 6 holes. Then I said, well, I better go home.
He was on the golf course, and he came home, and he said that he had some pain. He didn't tell me when he came home that he had pain, but he went downstairs in our basement, and he stayed there for a while, thinking that this pain would go away. And then he came upstairs and he said, I think you better take me to the hospital. Sal had a heart attack and a stroke on the same day. It's a very serious condition. He was in the hospital for about 3 months. And after that, he had extensive rehabilitation. And that was in 1995.
We decided to come out here where the living would be a little easier, where we'd have transportation and so forth as part of the deal here in Rossmore, and I could have some sort of a life for myself.
So we came here, and I have been absolutely happy here.